All right. Without further ado. Oh, I better make sure I fix that in the next one. It's okay. Alrighty, guys. Without further ado, here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, playing as the blue Zerg pieces. Give it up. It is Rogue. And we'll do that for the moment. And at the top left in the red, playing as the Terran pieces. Give it up. It is Cure. Alrighty, so Barracks first coming out from a Cure. We see Rogue going into the hatch first. Very standard stuff for Rogue. It actually is kind of interesting. Rogue is one of those characters that we see him go usually like spawning pool first into the hatch. And I think a lot of that is just because when you're playing certain Terrans, when you're playing against certain people, it's better to have that earlier spawning pool, and if you need to be aggressive, as well as just have something to defend, right? Your ultimate goal is to kind of get a little bit quicker with all things. So we'll see how things go. Now, Cure going to be sending out a single SCV. He's going to throw down that expansion as well, and everything looking pretty good. Wants to go across, wants to scout, wants to see, you know, is my opponent trying to go for, you know, maybe some quick roaches? Is he going to be going into something crazy that I need to prepare for right away? And you know, he will see that it is very much a normal timing so far from a Rogue. Now, I'm curious to see where Rogue wants to play, right? He's one of those characters that, I keep saying character, but he's one of those people that like to, you know, go with roaches. He's good with Ling Bane as well. And we've actually seen a lot of this meta coming out from Zergs in general of just going into lurkers and essentially, I don't want to say stalling out the game, but it definitely is one of those kind of like siege mode tactics, right? You see as Terrans like to go into that heavier tank style sometimes, just slowly push across the map. We see that sometimes with Zergs now, with these lurker kind of plays that have been very popular. And I'm interested to see, does he go into that style? It's definitely something that he is capable of. But we'll see. Third base on the way now for Cure. Does have that Marine to try to hide out and kind of hold things around. As Rogue takes his third base behind the pressure. He's only got a handful of Lings, so not looking to get super aggressive at the moment. And Rogue just going to be able to start pushing across with the creep tumors and getting things ready. All right, Starport on the way now for Cure. He does have that factory with the Hellions coming through. And I like it. The Reaper going to be pushed back. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. First couple of Hellions for Cure will be making their way across the map. Now, he still has the Reaper alive, which is very important. One, it's going to allow him to continue to scout, but also will allow the Hellions to come help and potentially get some damage done. But we do see Rogue almost finished up with speed. He's got a couple of queens going into that heavier queen style, which is actually really nice. So we will see. Alrighty, Baneling Nest on the way now for the Terran. There we go. Excuse me, for the Zerg. I am curious, you know, Rogue going to be going into that Ling Bane, which will help, especially against a more heavier, like, Marine style. We do actually see Liberator on the way, though, here from Cure. We got Stem on the way as well, and, you know, going pretty heavy into the Hellions. Looks like he might be going for, like, a Hellion kind of play. Doesn't have an armory or anything, so I don't think it's going to be like a Marine Hellion. But Viking is out and going to be pushing forward. Now, Rogue does have his queens in position. we'll be able to stop the Viking before it is actually able to kill anything off here. There we go. But it does look like Cure is getting ready for a nice little push. Rogue, however, sending out links, trying to go all over the place. Really wants to scout out what Cure is doing here, and it should be pretty good. Good. All right, so Cure coming in, gonna be clearing up some creep. Queens, though, will be able to push this back. Liberator, and in a pretty good position, will eventually fall after taking about 4 drones. I think he was able to get a some larvae too, which is really nice, actually. Now, Blair is already done here for Rogue, and behind this, he is going to go more into, I guess, Bailings. From here, I imagine going into Bailing speed, potentially throwing down the... I want to say eventually he's going to throw down a Hydralisk Den, but we'll see. Does have the Bailing Nest started. Does have another hatchery on the way. And behind this, adding on 2 Evo Chambers. Wants to get those nice and ready. There we go. Alrighty, Hellions coming in now. Cure, again, just getting a little damage here and there, but it actually looks like Rogue going to be going for another counterattack. And with this third base sitting in position, not yet having a wall, these Lings will be able to at least kill off a handful of these SCVs. Now the Marines are going to come over and actually push this back, but getting an even amount of 4. Oh no, Cure coming in now with those Hellions. The Bailings trying to waddle around and get some connections. Does actually kill off a good chunk of that before killing off 6 drones and a handful of Lings. And now we see Cure in action Jackson mode. He's going to start seeing those across the map. A 5th base now on the way for Rogue. Behind us, he is actually going to go into Spire. So not going to be going into the Hydra play, but indeed going to be going into Mutas. And I think it's still a very viable option. I think it's going to be very good, especially against kind of what Cure has, right? We're going to see him going into Widow Mines. And eventually see him getting those additional factories, getting additional starports, and really just starting to build up that the barrack cycle. Nice little hit. 6 Lings there with that Widow Mine. Eventually has to cancel that 4th base, which is not what you want to do as a Terran, unfortunately. But Rogue doing a very good job. Now we see Cure just kind of hovering around the edge, right, of the creep. Wants to make sure that he can push in very well. Now, Bailing speed is done. We do see those Bailings starting to run through here. Oh no. Not the best slits, but is able to get at least a couple of hits off with those Bailings. Even though the Widow Mines have come into play. The Ling's not even doing anything, just sitting there. Interesting. And yeah, I mean, other than that, Cure just kind of pushing in once in a while, but with the Lings, with the Queens there, didn't really get too much done. And now that Mutas are on the play, these drops, these little pickup harassments are not going to be the answer. Let's have to be careful, though, with these Mutas, as the Bailings eventually will push in here. The Mutas getting on top of the Medivacs will actually be able to kill those off and shutting down this harassment. Now, you're trying to build out his base a little bit more. He does have a very nice Marine count coming through, going into those Widow Mines, now adding on the Thors in position. Behind this, we see Rogue going into Infestation Pit, so looking to go up into that Hive Tech, even throwing down a hatchery. So should be good, should be exciting all together. And yeah, I mean, eventually he's wanting to push into that higher tech, maybe going into Ultras, or we could see him going into the like Broodlord Corruptor tag. I feel like it's not as popular now, though. I feel like Ultras are more kind of the late game that they want to go into. Maybe throw in Corruptors if needed, but it does seem like maybe that is kind of a little bit more what they go into. There you go. So Muta's gonna be coming through. Let's have the Overseer, so we'll at least be able to kind of see what's going on, able to kill off a couple of depots, and looking to go into the main, but there are just mines littered everywhere in the base of Cure. And I just don't think Rogue, even though he's getting some damage, not going to be able to get the most. Especially right now, he's going to have to find another way in here if he does want to continue. Now, he has cleared away some of the rocks, which will allow him a little bit better pathing to get across the map, get reinforcements across, and not have to take like the long way around, right? So we will see here. Now, Bailing's going to be rolling in here. Able to kill off a couple of depots. More Bailings trying to come in. Actually able to kill off a lot of these Marines. Getting on top of the SCVs, getting 11 kills. We do see Rogue eventually pushing back, but getting that damage done. He is maxed out. Adding on 29 more Bailings. +3 is on the way, though, here for the Terran. He's even adding on the armor for those Thors. Just going to be very important, especially if he does have to soak a bunch of those Bailings. Those Thors need to be a little bit more tanky, and especially if he's going to be facing any more of these Mutas. Now, he does have a 4th base down. He's adding on a 5th base as we speak. But look at this. I mean, the creep is really getting out of hand here for Rogue. He is sitting now at a 6 base economy. And he is really getting that going. Throwing down a 7th base, just getting out of control here. Ooh, does take a hit, though, with that Widow Mine. Finally, we are going to see the Thor coming into the main to deal with this. The Bailings, though, coming in everywhere. Getting on top of everything. And kills off an additional 6 SCVs. Getting a lot of damage done. Resetting that Marine count, in a sense. As we do see those Mutas coming back in. Actually able to pick off that Widow Mine that's been so kind of busting there. And now we just see Rogue continuously making more and more Bailings, throwing them into this defense. Weakening a lot of this army, taking out a lot of SCVs as well. And unfortunately, Cure right now just having to sit back, having to play defensive here. Now, Cure's 5th base is done, but he has not been able to actually move it out. And even trying to add on more missile turrets just to be more defensive here against those Mutas that are being so annoying against us. But really, as Cure is having to be more defensive, we see Rogue just really pushing that creep across. He's actually almost to the bases now of Cure. There we go. Bling starting to roll in here. The Bailing's going to get some good connections. The Muta's kind of staying behind, making sure that everything gets slaughtered before they can come in and finish things off here. Cure does have those Widow Mines, though. He's going to try to burrow those up front and deal with this, but actually able to save the base. So Cure doing a fantastic job as far as that goes, but he definitely is having to play almost from behind. We see that bank really starting to build up here for Rogue, and you're gonna have to lift up once again that 5th base as Muta's just all over the place, and Rogue really just trying to keep a Cure as undefensive as possible. A couple of good hits from those Widow Mines, but no extra defense really there. Gonna force another pickup, losing more and more SCVs, and these Mutas eventually gonna get pushed back from Cure as he is trying to kind of reposition himself, I guess get his army together. But as this goes on, we have that 7th base done for Rogue. The creep almost completely covering this map here. It is not looking good right now here for Cure, but he is continuously pushing in here. The Ultra's now out for Rogue as the Bailing starting to push across, starting to get the damage done. The Ultras will eventually get cleaned up here, but the Muta's still putting on damage, still getting things done. Even getting more SCVs, and it's one of those things like Rogue's army is really good. He's able to get these small engagements, but also these Bailings, they're like one-hit wonders. So even though he gets the lead, he's crushing through, he really doesn't have a whole lot to follow up with this, right? While as Cure, he has those Thors, he has the Marauders to help soak up damage. And he's really starting to get into a pretty good position. Now, we do see 50 Bailings being made. Just insane numbers coming out from Rogue as he's just continuously trying to push in, continuously trying to just demolish anything that they can. And these mutas still being harassed, and still just trying to get on top of everything. And it really is forcing Cure kind of in these multiple positions. Here come the beautiful Ultralisks. Bailing's gonna roll in, just crashing through everything. And yeah, I mean, he's gonna get the base. We'll be able to start pushing through. 13 SCVs do end up falling. These Ultras still alive. The reinforcements, though, should be able to kind of pick this up. And unfortunately, it's like right now, Rogue does not have any detection there with his Ultras. So not gonna be able to get the mines, but again, they're one shots and it just has a long cooldown. So overall, not going to do too much worrying. But even in the main, we do see Rogue actually putting on a lot of pressure behind this, taking additional bases, going on to 8 bases. He's just going to have a tremendous economy, even more than what he already has. He's sitting at 93 workers, which definitely could fill up everything essentially here. Let's have +3 flyer attack coming through for those mutas. If you're able to push back a little bit of the creep, but unfortunately with the army he has right now, he just cannot fully engage the army here of Rogue. Does come in with those Marines, the Marauders. Once again, just huge hits there actually with the Widow Mines coming through, but still not going to be enough. The Ultras will eventually back up. And again, this third base getting denied from really being able to mine effectively. He does have another 5th base coming across the map to try to deal with this, but the creep is literally at that 5th base, which is just not looking good for Cure. There we go. Oh no, oh no. Oh, whew. Rogue almost going to be losing a lot of that. That's good. A hit taken on him. Interesting. And right now, Rogue in a very good position. He is adding on more bases. I think more of a like a proxy hatch kind of situation. Oh no, he had to retake that. I bet. Adding on another base up here though. So literally every base that could be taken is basically being taken here from Rogue. Right. So he's coming in once again. One of the mines does go off. The Ling's trying to get on top of this third base. Will eventually get pushed back as the Marauders, everything coming now to this 9th base. There's just so many Bailings going to crash into everything. And yeah, I mean, just Bailings for days. Trying to pick up everything that they can, but the Muta's coming in, trying to focus down the Medivacs. The Thor is getting very low. The Ultra's coming through now. Bailing's going to be crashing into the Marines, but Cure is fighting back. He is going to eventually take care of these Ultras. And even after all of that, still going to be managing to do all right. Now, he is losing quite a bit more SCVs. He's actually sitting at 49 with the 91 here. He just does not have an economy, so really Rogue going to be able to start, you know, eventually just a war of attrition in here. And, you know, each one of these units is so valuable for Cure at the moment, while Rogue can really replenish a lot of this. The micro is looking pretty good here from Cure as he's just having to push back, continuously kind of dealing with this. But GG's. We'll see. We'll see Rogue take the victory there at game number 1. GG's. Go. Give me 1 second here. You want to make sure see the countdown because we do still have just a little bit of time left for the next fight. There we go. And thank you, Kimiko. Throwing those in there. Awesome. So yeah, we still got a few minutes left. We got 5 minutes. We'll go ahead and jump into the next game, and then after that, we will go ahead and start the battle. Should be good. Cool. Here we go. Let's jump into game number 2. This best of 5 series. Right. Here we go. Spawning down here. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map as the Red Terran. Give it up from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Cure. In the top right, in the red, or excuse me, in the blue. I can't see colors today. Give it up for the Zerg player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Rogue. Alright, spawning cool coming down first for Roach. Definitely something that he likes to do. Kind of discussed in game number 1 that it is definitely a style he likes. It allows for that early protection. Allows for some early harassment if wanted. Even though it's not more economical, be able to defend any kind of cheesiness. And Cure's one of those players that is normally a macro player. He loves to play just kind of a standard style, but he has been known to go into some cheeky stuff, you know, proxy, barracks, and stuff like that. So we'll see. So far, he is going to be making his barracks in the main base, not going to be going anything cheeky or cheesy. Actually, just going to send across the SCV. Wants to get some good scouting information. Wants to see, you know, what is his opponent really going to be doing. Find this taking expansion of his own. Rogue already taking a hatchery, and it looks like he is going to be very close to actually taking a third base, pointing down here towards the bottom, it looks like. So Cure not going to see anything being taken up top, not going to see any kind of drone coming through. We'll eventually scout down here at the bottom, but by then that third base will be taken for Rogue. And Cure will at least know that, hey, it's not going to be some kind of crazy 2-base all in. It is going to be, I guess, more standard for Kaz. And even being able to kind of scout the timings as well to see, you know, was it a pool first? Was it a hatch first? By just kind of seeing the overall health pools there. So Reaper is going to be coming in here for Cure, as he is looking to get some damage done as well as some scouting information. Wants to eventually just kind of force Rogue into using drone or using the larva for drones rather than like being able to make units, or I guess even just making him make like lings and stuff instead of getting that economy up and running. So with the queens out though, we'll eventually kind of shut this down. The Reaper will be able to get in and still get a little bit of information if he is careful with it. But with the queens getting in position now, it kind of shuts and really limits his ability to get in there. Behind this, we do actually have Hellions on the way for Cure, throwing that third CC in the main, and will eventually be able to lift the building and position it, I imagine, down here at this bottom third. It feels like that's kind of the easier base to defend, especially for a Terran. You know, you throw some tanks up top, and you can call it a good day. Rogue, though, starting to send across his overlords to get some good kind of vision of the map as the first Hellions do pop out. Gonna push towards this third base. We'll eventually have to back up as the other queens do join forces. But behind this, we do see more Hellions being added on. A total of 4, it looks like. It's not going to be a huge amount like we saw in the previous game. He does have Stim on the way as Rogue going into 10 links. Adding on more and more here. Right. Overlord looking to get into the main base, and Scout does actually see pretty good Scout. Sees everything being made. There is no starport, however. Very interesting though, he didn't scout that either. Then again, he was very much in the front. There goes the starport right there. So a very late starport to be able to get that third base and eventually get the additional barracks. Behind this layer on the way for Cure, or excuse me, for Rogue. And eventually this is going to allow him to go up to that higher tech, allow him to get into Hydralisks, even get like speed bailings like we saw in the previous match, mutas, whatever he really wants to do. So we will see. There we go. It is actually going to be a Roach Warren though. Very interesting. Evo Chambers going down behind us as well. So essentially going into speed Roaches, getting that +1 upgrade. And going for a nice little timing attack definitely could be the answer here. Now, Cure just going across and really just trying to shut down some of the creep tumors here. But with a little bit of a counterattack, it does kind of force Cure back. Rogue. We'll eventually lose us, huh? But at least it does delay Cure a little bit. Doesn't allow him to really be on top of the creep as much. Even though Rogue wasn't able to get that much damage done. Actually, he didn't get any damage. But it does delay, right? We see 16 Roaches on the way, +1 being researched. And also Roach speed. So it's going to allow those Roaches to move quicker across the map. Already getting a buff from the creep itself. Will eventually get even more of a buff with that upgrade. So very, very nice. Fourth base on the way for Rogue. And the interesting thing is he really has kind of kept the secret, right? Doesn't know really that there are Roaches. I think he might have saw them just now as these Roaches were coming through. But it's going to be mainly just Marines. He's got a Marauder. He's got +1 on the way as well as concussive shells. So that will eventually kind of help. But now, yeah, he definitely sees the Roaches. He sees the Ravengers. 10 more on the way here for the Zerg. And right now, Cure doesn't really have an army to deal with this. I mean, he's got the Hellions. He's got the Reaper to, I guess, kind of delay this. But these Marines don't fare the best against Roaches. He does actually get forced to pick up here. And yeah, he's going to be able to push the creep back just a little bit. Keep it from spreading or slowing down at least. But he definitely already throwing down the bunkers, getting some tanks is what he needs to do here. But does he have enough time? He's in a nice little choke position, which the tanks will help out with this. But the first tank here is just now popping out. And I don't think it's going to be in position in time as the rocks do end up falling. And it looks like now Rogue pushing in towards this third base location. The Crocodile is going to rain from the sky, landing on top of the bunkers of the Marines. Marauders trying to force themselves back as the first tank does end up sieging. But these Roaches is still pushing forward. The tank going to get unsieged, going to move, picked up and moved into the main base. But there's just a lot of Zerg here. Link's going to be used as the follow-up as these Marines trying to push back. The SCVs are going to get pulled to help deal with this. There's still a lot of Zerg left over. He is going to go eventually take care of this third base. The tanks now getting siege up onto the top to deal with this. Eventually picking up as many of those SCVs as possible. Now the interesting thing is, like, right now Rogue does not have an Overlord with us, so he cannot attack these tanks directly. He is going to make a couple more Ravengers with us, but he doesn't have any. Again, okay, there's some Overseers now, so that will help out actually. But for the moment, he really can't do anything here. Pure holding on for defense, finally getting more and more tanks out, and that's exactly what he needs to keep defending this. It does look like Rogue eventually will be pushed back, but Cure has to be careful here. The Crocodile is going to be landing on a big chunk of army, going to be forced back once again. But really, Cure has this defensive stat right now. He has to hold this on with those tanks splashing down on everything. trying to dodge the corrosive biles as much as possible, pulling the SCVs once again, but there's just a lot of corrosive biles raiding from everywhere. Finally, the tanks are getting taken out. One tank does remain as the Marines trying to push forward. 18 SCVs have fallen, though. You're still holding on, but just barely. He does not have the worker count, and behind this, we have that 4th base up and running. Eventually, maybe a 5th base if he needs to. Does get that 2nd tank, and Pure's still finding more and more tanks, just trying to get this push back. But it is definitely a tough situation here for the Terran. Coming back up to the ramp one more time. Corrosive biles do not hit any connections, but it will force Cure back for the time being, or at least kind of push him back into his base. And the thing is he's like staying just barely out of the range here of those tanks, so really has to keep this up. 9 more Roaches on the way. +2 is almost done now for the Zerg. Terran does have +2 on the way, but eventually is just a little bit behind in that regard, and it really comes down to him having to prioritize getting those Marauders, getting those tanks over, worrying about an additional upgrade. But when this +2 completes, it makes it very, very tough for Cure. But can he do it here? He has been holding this off so far, dodging those corrosive biles as much as possible. Oh no, the medevac so taking a huge hit. The SCV is getting pulled once again, trying to be used as a meat shield, but GG's. We see you, Rogue, taking the victory, making it 2-0, putting him on match point this series. All right. So before we get into the next match, we will go ahead and do the stream raid. Should be and move it over here, and we get ourselves started. Right. Let's see if we can do it. I think there's only one guy. I think it's the zipper knot. Should be good. Should be able to get it. I think we've got enough people. Oh no, we got the goblins too. Here we go. The Rogue going ham. Just going straight for the gut here. The tanks and the sentries though going to be pushing in. You see that tank of me falling back. Oh man, that Rogue able to kill it. GG's. Hi. Heck yeah. Awesome job. Coco doing the best. Awesome job there. Thank you so much. And it stuff. You get all of the cool stuff. Grant rewards. Start the next fight. We'll get back to the next map here. Let's go. If we go to the next goblin, we're gonna start the next goblin there. Yeah. We'll do a warrior. I think we'll do our tank. There we go. Awesome. G. Oh. Okay. All right, so we got another 30 minutes. So we're gonna do the rest of the series. Should give us enough time to that. Should be good, and then we will get into actually playing. So should be good. Awesome. So let's get into game number 3. Rogue. Playing. Ding. Go. Let's jump into it. All right, without further ado, here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing as the red Terran pieces. Give it up. It is Cure. And in the top right, in the blue, playing as the Zerg pieces, give it up, it is Rogue. Alrighty, so game number 3 here. Rogue looking fantastic. And it's really kind of shown a couple of different builds. Cure, though, has been playing a very solid game as well. He really has been showing, I want to say, I mean, I guess essentially he has been doing different builds, really kind of changing up how many, Hellions he's going for, essentially the pressure coming through as well. Here is going to be making his base in the main. Now, Rogue does suspect that there might be some kind of cheese. So he is scouting out with the Overlords, really looking around, making sure that he doesn't get blindsided. You're up 2-0 on match point. You're 1 win away from moving on. Would you be able to keep it up? So making sure everything is set, making sure everything is good to go. Spawning pool down for Rogue, as he did go into hatch first to allow him to be a little bit more economic. Isn't really worried about a big attack or anything coming at the moment, as Cure does send across that SCV, making a Reaper to go across. So very similar stuff coming out from Cure as we've seen in the previous matches, and it's really one of those things that for Cure, if he's able to get the damage done early on with the Hellions and with the kind of push, it really helps him kind of push through into the later parts of the game. But we've seen Rogue really get aggressive and in a sense kind of force Cure in these weird spots. So I'm curious to see if somehow Cure can make a difference here, if he can really start pushing in and dealing the damage he needs to. Reaper does come in to the base here for Cure, is able to get a single laying. These are getting kind of low, but with the Queen pushing out, once again, with that Reaper getting very low, he will go ahead and sit back. Now, Reaper does have a healing regenerative property that once he hasn't been in battle for a little bit, he does actually start rebuilding health. And the same thing does actually happen to the Link sometimes. They do start building up some of that health. So we'll be able to kind of reset before he goes back in. Eventually is now back to that full health. And going to go across, knows that the third base is there at least. And eventually is looking to kill off some of the creep, right? For the Zerg, that creep is going to allow them to eventually have more vision of the map, be able to see where his opponent is, what movements the opponent is doing, and allows his units to move quicker. You notice even for the Queens, when they're off of creep, they do move a lot slower, very lethargic. But on the creep though, they move super fast. It's like they're ice skating, just going super crazy. So third base on the way now here for Cure. I'm going to be going into a Banshee behind this, as we do have a few Hellions still being made. I am curious though, does he move up to more Hellions, or is he just going to stay on 4 and go into maybe like tanks or something? So here we go. Cloak on the way. Third base is still on the way, and now we see those Hellions and the Reaper once again kind of pushing back and forth, really just trying to keep the position open. Again, the ultimate goal is to just keep the creep timbers at bay, keep that vision as low as possible, and really, get the surprise on the Zerg. The Rogue doing a fantastic job going into those Queens. He's got Bailing Nest on the way. Stem on the way now for here. He is going to actually move the factory, so it is just going to be the 4 Hellions and the Reaper. We do have the Banshees though, so could get some damage with that. Looks like the Hellions though not looking to get in just yet. There we go. Alright, so Banshee has been scouted automatically. We do see those creep timbers, or excuse me, the spore crawlers coming down. And that's really kind of unfortunate, right? I mean, he is going to, I guess, force a little bit, but now we have Lair on the way. And by the time he actually goes into the main here, I mean, it's going to be a little too late. I mean, he might be able to get like a drone, but it's really one of those things of you kind of show your hand and you give your opponent the time to prepare for it. It makes it very, very tough. There we go. All right, third base is down now for Cure, as he still does have some of those Hellions at home. So I guess he did go into 6 altogether, having those 4 defense for any kind of Ling run by that might be happening. But doing a good job so far. Rogue, though, clearing out the rocks, really trying to open and build those pathways to help, swarming across is kind of your goal as a Zerg player. So getting really, really good. Rogue taking that 4th base, and surprisingly, Cure is still holding these up, right? I mean, he eventually is going across for a push. He's got the tank, he's got the Marines. Stim is done. Has combat shields and a +1 on the way here for his infantry, which will be really nice. Rogue actually going to see this coming, so we'll be able to get prepared. He has 6 Balings on the way, going to be going back into that Spire tech, so going into the Mutaplay. Eventually, maybe getting into the Ultras if he gets into that position. So Link's coming through. We'll be able to get a pretty good wraparound. Gonna force a pickup here as the Hellions gonna be running a little bit too late. It's the tank though, and for the time being, Rogue actually defending this pretty well. There we go. You're eventually going to have to back up, but behind this, he does have the armor coming down, which will allow him to start going into +2 as soon as this gets done, as well as he is adding on more Marines. He's got those additional barracks that are building up, and going into Marine tank. Link's coming in for a nice little push here, actually. Going to be able to get a comp of a lot of these SCVs. Going to force Cure back here. And yeah, I mean, eventually he will be able to hold this back, but 9 SCVs eventually fall. You see him kind of pushing back. So Rogue doing a good job on these kind of harassments, taking a 5th base behind all of this. And, Cure doing a good job of trying to push, trying to keep the attack in the face here. But now with the mutas out, it makes it very, very tough, as he needs to have some kind of defense at home. This muta's going to be able to start pushing in once a missile turret's not done yet into the 3rd base. Here come the Marines trying to get on top of this Cure. Going to siege up those tanks in the back, able to get focused down onto the Balings before getting any hits. The Lings are going to go down, throwing down on top of the Queens, but will be forcing at the same time that orbital command to lift up, killing off 7 more of those SCVs. Eventually going to get picked up here as the Balings crashing through, taking care of a good chunk of this army. Rogue able to finally kind of push us back, but oh no, here come the mutas once again. Gonna be focusing down the medevacs. Does end up dropping the Marines, but not before losing everything. And now you're in a very tough spot. He's still not out of it though, but definitely makes it very tough. Rogue does have that 5th base scan, does actually reveal that here, so here does know that these bases are starting to get out of hand here for Rogue. He's making more Marines. He's going into more tanks, going into +2. And yeah, I mean, these mutas going to come back in, going to start focusing down on the tanks. Let's get one. Trying to keep that tank count very low. And we'll see. I mean, Cure now kind of having to play the defensive game. He wants to go across. He wants to attack. He wants to deal some damage. We'll be able to kick off a couple of mutas, which is really nice, but they will get replaced very easily here if he is not careful. Now, the good thing right now is, he is at least keeping Rogue at bay for the time being, but Rogue now starting to get more and more of these bases. He is now going to be on a 6th base here as it is making. And with these mutas, he has a lot of map control. Going to be able to go into the main, get some damage done potentially, or even just kind of keep Cure at home being defensive. Well, he does what he wants to do. He starts pushing across the creep tumors and stuff. But I mean, Cure definitely could just pull the trigger here. I think, you know, trying to force those mutas to come back home, saying, hey, if you don't move back home with those, there's a good possibility you're just going to lose a lot of your bases quicker than what I will. So at the same time, as he is pushing across, Rogue is indeed going to be coming into the main base, killing off 24. Oh my god, killing off 25 SCVs here. Just not just eliminating the economy here. And Cure trying to make a tough decision here. Does he keep pushing back? Does he come back home? He has nothing at home really to defend right now, though. He's only got a handful of Marines against this many mutas. It is not looking good for him here. He is eventually going to have to return back home. But still, he's making tanks. I would be interested in him, like, actually going into, like, some Thors, but he's just going to be going into tanks, trying to move back, trying to deal whatever he can. But these Bailings are looking to get the damage done. That is for sure. Yeah. I mean, just so many Lings, so many mutas. Eventually, the Marines do come back, but Cure going to tap out, and Rogue will take the victory and the series.